Joining us now to help us save some money is Airline Weekly's Seth Kaplan. Seth, you're one of those guys I would squeeze in next to, and you'll tell me you paid like a third for what I paid at the ticket, right?
Always.
Not fair. Not fair.
So what's your tip? What are your tips?
Well, yeah, you're right. You know, it's nobody's going to get any bargains during the holiday, but at the same time, there are ways to save a little bit of money. You know, you generally get the best deal between a month and 2 months before you travel, and so the best advice right now is, because we're in that range, about a month and a half before Christmas, hey, start looking, but don't panic. You know, if you're used to paying, let's say, $200 to fly to New York, Chicago, Boston, and you see a $300 fare, yeah, that might be the best you're going to do. You know, if you see $400 or $500, the airline's probably going to have to lower those fares to fill the flight. You know, most of us can't pay those kinds of fares. I want to show you one online site that I kind of like as a tool. This is Bing Travel. It's one of a few sites that do something like this. I put in a search for, you know, flights from South Florida to Boston, and you see where it says their tip? It says wait, fares will probably drop because the fares are up above $400. Well, then that's probably a good idea. And in the case of Boston, yeah, the fares are still really high. Nikki and Sasha, on the other hand, there are some markets where, you know, I looked for flights to New York, for example, and they were more like $300. And sure enough, Bing said, yeah, go ahead and book it now. It's not going to get any better.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's a good tip. And now, Seth, these days, it's more complicated than just those fares. A lot of people are flying for Christmas. They're also going to be Santa's helpers, dragging those gifts. That means a lot of luggage and bag fees on some airlines. So how do we take that into account?
Yeah, you're right. It is more complicated than ever, right? Because, you know, some airlines charge a lot for bags, some charge a little, and some don't charge anything at all. Generally, a good rule of thumb is when you're thinking in terms of bags, figure about an extra $50 round trip, $25 each way for most airlines. That's what most of them charge. But there are a couple of airlines that don't do that. You know, Southwest doesn't charge for the first 2 bags that you check. JetBlue doesn't charge for the first bag that you check. So if you're flying one of those airlines, even if the fare is a little higher, the total amount that you spend might be lower. You know, imagine you see Delta $150, JetBlue $175. But again, remember, Delta, you're going to pay another $50 round trip if you go ahead and check a bag with them.
You know, Seth, sometimes though, when I take into account that I'm saving money for the bags on Southwest or JetBlue, the ticket ends up being more expensive, so it ends up being the same. I mean, this is a lot to remember. I mean, is there anywhere we can see it all compared in one place and just know what I'm going to pay from the get-go?
Yeah, there are a few different tools online that can help you with this, because certainly it is more complicated than ever. If you just do a Google search for, you know, compare airline fees, it'll bring up some pretty good ones. Let me show you one that I like. It's on kayak.com. They have this comparison that we're going to show you. I'm sorry, actually, they don't have the video of that, yeah. But basically, if you go there it is. If you go there, you're going to see these kinds of comparisons. You see some airlines, you do pay for a bag. If you were to scroll all the way down to others, you would see no bag fee at all. So that's a good way to go ahead and compare some of those fees, not just the bags, but other things like meals that you might pay for on some airlines and not others.
Yeah. And Seth, while we have you here, big news came on Friday that American Airlines pilots seem to have a tentative contract agreement with the airline. I mean, you and I have talked about this so much after so many problems over the last few months. Is this good news for travelers?
It is. You know, things have gotten a little bit better already at American, not so many delays and cancellations. If pilots approve this, and they still have to vote on it, probably just another piece of good news for travelers. Happy pilots ultimately will mean happier travelers.
Seth, well, we're always happy to have you with us. You have a great day, and we'll see you again next week.
You too, thanks.